around the grid, everybody in the stands, everybody on the internet, everybody on Instagram, TikTok. Aston Martin.
Wow.
Fernando Alonso.
Yep.
Lance Stroll. Lawrence Stroll.
Yep.
They put this thing together finally.
Yes, finally is the key word.
They show up. Fernando sets some paces throughout practice, even in qualifying, and puts it P3.
Yes.
Easily.
Yeah, hands down. They are, I would say, all-round car. I would say they're probably the number 2 car right now. The qualifying pace of Ferrari is still there. It's not exactly the best car to drive throughout the whole race, but it's definitely fast in a one-lap stint. So I think, Aston Martin's definitely battling for that number 2 car on the grid, which no one last year saw that coming. We all thought it would happen, but it wouldn't. We didn't think it was going to happen. And I honestly think Alonso in that car is the only thing that can beat Red Bull right now. Because one thing, Alonso will not take crap from Verstappen. If Verstappen, he wants to beat that Red Bull as much as anyone else, if not more. The fact that he's, coming to the end of his career soon, he wants that win, he wants another championship, he's going for it. If he's going wheel to wheel with Alonso, but for the whole season, with Verstappen for the whole season, Alonso's not going to back down. And really and truly, Red Bull has a lot more to lose by crashing out, so I think you're going to see some hardcore fights if Alonso gets on pole.
He's off to a great start. I mean, P3, nobody saw that coming. Let's be honest.
No.
We came into the season, into testing, thinking Mercedes wouldn't take the leap. They might even leapfrog Ferrari.
Yeah.
But now we have the Aston Martin finishing in front of Mercedes.
Yeah.
Both George and Lewis.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about Mercedes just now. But I think it's interesting what you just pointed out. Alonso is not going to take anything from Max Verstappen. Was a stark contrast to Lewis Hamilton because with the championships, it was just Max and Lewis competing, and he just couldn't take that risk.
Yeah.
Alonso is a guy who just doesn't care. And then outside of the racing helmet, we have Lawrence Stroll.
Yes.
Who's a diehard alpha.
Yeah.
And he's not going to take nothing from Christian Horner.
Nope.
Right? So
Nope.
We're looking at fireworks potentially on track, fireworks potentially off track. And, we were talking before we started recording. We've been waiting for the Aston Martin to kind of come around.
Yeah.
And looking for something like this. And while we are surprised that it's there, we're more like finally.
Yeah.
Because the investment has been made. They have a new facility. They managed to take some engineers and some key guys from highly competitive teams and put them all under the Aston Martin umbrella. So the question for you is, will they get a win this year? And do you put them ahead? I don't even want to talk about best of the rest because I don't think they're there.
No.
I think they're literally competing for P2 in the Constructors' Championship right now.
They are. And honestly, it's not a case of if they win, it's going to be of when they win. They're definitely going to win a race this year. You never know. It could be the next race in Saudi. Like I'm hoping it is. I hope that they come back from a good race weekend and come off strong and then come with a couple more upgrades to kind of go and go blow for blow with that Red Bull. Max is kind of just chilling up front right now with what he's doing and how he's driving. So with that first race, he kind of got a big lead and just kind of maintained it. He didn't have to push. He didn't have to do anything. But that was the first time that Aston Martin has been able to push and battle for a win in the end, right? Yeah. So I think this, the momentum going into that factory for this next couple weeks before the next race, I think they're so pumped. They want to get that win. They're going to be pushing the hardest out of every team this year to work on that car and get that car to the front. And I don't think it's too far off. I think it's definitely a fast machine. They probably have some kinks to work out, and I think they can pick up a 10th or 2 going into the next race just by having a race weekend underneath their belts, right?
Right.
And I think really right now with the Aston Martin, I think, they're number 2. Like I don't see the Ferrari beating them.
No.
Not at this point. I don't see like Mercedes coming up to them. I think, even it was kind of disappointing with Alpine this weekend with what they're been doing. So
we're gonna get to Alpine.
Yeah.
I have thoughts on Alpine.
Yeah.
Right?
And I don't know. I just really and truly think that they have the biggest drive right now where Red Bull's kind of in a cruise control. It's like, whatever, we don't have to, push harder and harder and harder like they've been in the past couple of years to try to go after Mercedes. Mm-hmm. Now they have the other shoe on their foot where they're being chased and they're the guys that are wanted, while they're out there.
Being hunted, by the rest.
And I think, honestly, in the end, I think Aston Martin's going to turn around and with these upgrades and stuff like that and come into the end of the season, I hope with this penalty they had last year with Red Bull's penalties last year, and they're even win the championship, they get less testing time and all that stuff. I think hopefully by the end of the year, with Aston Martin having way more testing and wind tunnel time than the Red Bull car, because they didn't finish very well last year, so they have some of the most, like the most, not, well, I guess I didn't say the most, but I guess
they have a good amount. They have a good amount,
a good amount of air tunnel time. So I think, you know, the long-term game, I think really and truly, Aston Martin's in a great position right now because they both came out of the it's not like they're chasing Red Bull right now. They can go blow for blow. They just don't have the race pace right now.
Well, the thing about it is this, right? There's a couple things about it. Lance Stroll not being able to do testing.
Yeah.
That was a big part.
Yes.
Because he's the only person who has reference with the Aston Martin car.
From last year,
right?
Yeah.
Because you got Fernando stepping into something totally new.
Yep.
And he's been able to manage it and make it work. I mean, P3 open a race, that's fantastic. Yep. But Lance is the guy who's got that memory bank and that data to do all the setup. And the thing about it right now, which is great for them, is they've come out of the gates firing, and they should be able to capitalize on points right away before the teams start bringing upgrades, including themselves, right? So every other team from Ferrari, Mercedes, Alpine, they're all looking at ways to improve because, let's face it, they've been at the same track for however many weeks now.
Yeah.
And it kind of is what it is. You've seen who's been able to dial this thing in and get it going around the Bahrain circuit.
Yeah.
Teams will start introducing upgrades. Aston Martin definitely in a good place, but they don't introduce the upgrades till around race 3, race 4.
Yeah,
so if they can put together, you know, P2, P3, P1, if something happens with the Red Bull, they're in a very good spot. Very good spot.
Very good spot. And I think if they can hang on to them by the summer break, I think they're going to be battling them for the championship by the end of the year. They have to be consistent. They have to keep their reliability up. They're going to have to hope that the Red Bull does have some reliability issues in the first half of the season so that they can, you know, capitalize on it, you know, keep the points nice and close, because I think by the end of the season when Red Bull doesn't have as much aero testing as everyone else, I think this Aston Martin's going to turn around and it's going to come, you know, like a bat out of hell after the summer break.
There you go. The Aston Martin is the real deal. Dames, Darryl Timmers of Pro Racing Ontario right here on Another Race Weekend, Canada's F1 show. Be sure to drop a comment, drop a like. When is Fernando going to get his victory? When is Lance Stroll going to jump up on that podium? We'd love to hear what you think about that. Like, share, subscribe, and be sure to check out the next clip or stream us. We have the entire podcast up wherever you get your podcasts. It is Another Race Weekend, Canada's F1 show.